She knelt beside the mock explosive device in the sweltering training pit, watching her fellow EOD cadets complete their standardized bomb disposal procedures with their regulation detection equipment. Her methodical approach seemingly overwhelmed by the time pressure that characterized advanced explosive ordnance disposal training, despite her consistent performance on written examinations and theoretical coursework that exceeded most candidates in her training class. The other trainees moved through their disarmament sequences with the aggressive confidence that characterized former combat engineers and seasoned demolition specialists. Their conversations filled with deployment stories and technical discussions about explosive mechanisms that seemed to exclude the quiet chemistry student who had somehow qualified for the most demanding bomb disposal program in the United States military despite never having handled live ordnance in actual combat situations. But through the training facility speakers that normally carried safety announcements and procedural reminders, an urgent alert suddenly shattered the afternoon exercise with words that transformed routine training into a crisis requiring immediate response from the most qualified bomb disposal technician available. Training command to all personnel, live explosive device detected in Sector 7. Timer activated at 10 seconds. Immediate disposal required. Repeat. Live ordnance disposal required with active countdown timer. Explosive Ordnance Disposal Specialist Dr. Rebecca Martinez felt her toolkit slip from nerveless fingers as she processed the impossible situation. She was the only EOD-qualified personnel currently positioned near the threat location, despite the fact that that few personnel were authorized to utilize during their military careers, though her current assignment to routine EOD training seemed inconsistent with the extensive academic credentials and cognitive psychology background required for her clearance level. The screening process for her current position had required 39 months of federal investigation that examined every aspect of her academic achievements and psychological conditioning capabilities, though investigators had encountered classified research papers that remained sealed at classification levels exceeding their authorization to review. At 26 years old, she possessed specialized education from the California Institute of Technology's Cognitive Science Program and Stanford University's Psychology Department, having completed doctoral research in stress psychology, cognitive conditioning, and experimental human performance under extreme pressure before her assignment to military EOD programs following academic research that exceeded current psychology understanding and provided mental conditioning capabilities that surpassed conventional military training methodology. Her academic record listed theoretical psychology specialization and advanced cognitive science coursework, though these official designations concealed stress, conditioning expertise, and operational experience that had been classified following academic discoveries that challenged existing understanding of human performance under life-threatening pressure and psychological resilience methodologies. Her educational background included doctoral research at academic institutions whose psychology programs were considered legendary by cognitive science communities, where defense contractors and stress researchers developed mental conditioning models that pushed the boundaries of human psychological resilience and extreme pressure decision-making capabilities. The research she had completed involved theoretical stress conditioning, advanced psychological modeling, and experimental cognitive enhancement that prepared her for pressure scenarios that conventional military training could not address adequately. Her academic advisors had included leading psychologists and former stress researchers whose experience encompassed decades of classified research into military applications of cognitive conditioning and psychological resilience enhancement technologies. The decision to accept military recruitment rather than pursuing academic career opportunities had been influenced by research opportunities and psychological resources that enabled her to apply theoretical stress conditioning knowledge to practical EOD applications while gaining access to experimental technologies that civilian academic institutions could not provide. Her presence within military training programs provided specialized expertise and psychological analysis, while her academic background remained available for consultation on stress problems that required her specific cognitive knowledge and psychological conditioning understanding. Colonel James Rodriguez supervised the afternoon EOD evaluation with authority gained through 26 years of military service and advanced education in explosive ordnance disposal strategy. His expertise, encompassing complex stress coordination and psychological analysis, that protected American EOD superiority from increasingly sophisticated enemy explosive systems. His background included command assignments throughout special operations divisions and liaison duties with research organizations that developed next-generation bomb disposal technologies and psychological conditioning capabilities. His Bronze Star Medal and multiple EOD awards reflected exceptional performance in both operational command and strategic disposal development assignments that shaped American bomb disposal capabilities and stress conditioning methodologies. The colonel's military career had evolved from conventional explosive ordnance operations to psychological conditioning development, including classified assignments with research organizations and intelligence agencies that developed advanced stress systems and cognitive resilience technologies. His transition from tactical EOD command to strategic conditioning development had been driven by recognition that modern warfare required psychological precision and stress coordination that exceeded traditional military boundaries and required interdisciplinary expertise combining psychology knowledge with tactical understanding. Around the classified briefing table sat representatives from DARPA, Special Operations Command, Defense Intelligence Agency, and various psychological contractors, each contributing specialized expertise to stress conditioning procedures and cognitive resilience systems that maintained American EOD superiority against emerging enemy explosive capabilities. The assembled group represented decades of collective experience in bomb disposal operations, psychological conditioning analysis, and technological development that maintained American EOD dominance against advanced enemy explosive systems and countermeasures. Major Lisa Chun, the EOD development coordinator responsible for psychological assessment and conditioning protocols, possessed 16 years of experience in advanced bomb disposal systems and held security clearances that provided access to the most sensitive intelligence regarding enemy explosive capabilities and cognitive conditioning methodologies. Her technical background included specialized training in stress psychology, cognitive resilience algorithms, and psychological evaluation procedures that enabled prediction of enemy EOD development patterns and coordination of appropriate technological responses to emerging explosive threats. Major Chin's expertise bridged the gap between theoretical psychology development and practical operational requirements, translating advanced stress research into functional training systems that prepared American personnel while maintaining readiness for psychological threats that might exceed current technological capabilities. Her role required constant evaluation of intelligence reports, technical assessments, and enemy explosive capability estimates to ensure adequate training preparations for evolving bomb disposal threats and psychological conditioning countermeasures. The development team under Chin's coordination represented carefully selected specialists recruited from leading psychology contractors and military research institutions, each bringing unique technical knowledge to the complex challenge of defending against increasingly sophisticated enemy explosive systems, while maintaining technological advantages that preserved American EOD superiority. Their work remained largely classified, but their development decisions directly influenced training capabilities and response procedures that protected millions of American citizens from enemy explosive threats. Captain David Kim, the training safety officer responsible for psychological monitoring and stress coordination, possessed extensive experience in advanced EOD operations and cognitive conditioning that enabled identification and classification of stress responses through sophisticated monitoring networks and psychological analysis procedures. His understanding of conditioning technology encompassed both conventional psychological monitoring systems and experimental technologies that pushed the boundaries of current scientific understanding and provided capabilities that exceeded standard military equipment specifications. The training commander's background included specialized training in cognitive psychology research, stress pattern processing, and advanced conditioning methodologies that enabled prediction of psychological breakdowns and mental patterns that enemy forces might employ to defeat conventional training systems. His responsibility for psychological coordination required constant technological advancement and strategic thinking that anticipated enemy stress manipulation while maintaining conditioning effectiveness for emerging EOD threats. Colonel Morning analysis indicates possible enemy development of advanced explosive systems with psychological warfare capabilities that exceed our current threat assessment models, Major Chen reported, her voice carrying analytical precision that characterized professional psychological evaluation. Defense Intelligence Agency sources suggest enemy development of explosive devices with stress induction and psychological manipulation capabilities that could challenge our existing conditioning protocols, though specific technical details remain classified above our briefing level. Her assessment reflected constant evolution of explosive threats that characterized contemporary technological defense, where enemy forces continuously developed new psychological technologies and tactics designed to defeat American conditioning systems and create vulnerabilities that could be exploited during actual bomb disposal situations. The intelligence indicated technological advancement that required enhanced training measures and updated psychological protocols to maintain conditioning effectiveness against stress warfare operations. The current threat assessment represented months of intelligence analysis that had identified patterns suggesting coordinated enemy research into advanced psychological warfare systems and anti-IoT countermeasures. Technical intelligence sources had reported development activities and testing programs that indicated preparation for stress capabilities that exceeded current American conditioning planning assumptions and psychological resilience calculations. Sir, we've upgraded our psychological monitoring sensitivity and implemented enhanced stress conditioning algorithms designed to counter advanced psychological warfare and countermeasure technologies that enemy forces might deploy, Captain Kim explained. His report reflecting systematic approach to conditioning adaptation that balanced training capabilities with technological limitations of current psychological monitoring and stress resilience systems. However, some theoretical enemy capabilities could exceed our current conditioning and psychological protection capabilities, requiring technological advancement and strategic planning that might take years to implement effectively. His analysis highlighted fundamental challenges facing modern IoT defense, where technological advancement created constant pressure to upgrade psychological conditioning systems, while enemy forces simultaneously developed countermeasures that challenged existing stress advantages. The balance between current capabilities and emerging threats required continuous investment and strategic planning that anticipated psychological developments before they materialized into actual bomb disposal challenges. The conditioning measures implemented by Kim's psychological team represented state-of-the-art stress monitoring technology that incorporated lessons learned from decades of IoT development and psychological warfare experience. Advanced pattern processing, computerized stress analysis, and automated conditioning systems provided capabilities that enhanced psychological accuracy while maintaining operational efficiency for legitimate training operations, though determined enemies continued developing stress manipulation technologies that challenged American IoT capabilities. Captain Kim, what specific capabilities do our current systems provide for defending against the advanced psychological threats described in current intelligence assessments? Colonel Rodriguez inquired, his question reflecting command responsibility for understanding conditioning limitations and ensuring adequate protection for American training and military installations against sophisticated psychological warfare attacks. The question addressed core challenges facing IoT planners in contemporary warfare, where technological advancement created threats that might exceed current psychological protection capabilities and required strategic decisions about resource allocation and conditioning development priorities. The assessment of current capabilities versus emerging threats was critical for determining training adequacy and psychological planning requirements. Martinez quietly moved through the training positions conducting routine equipment maintenance, her movements deliberately calm and systematic to avoid attracting attention, while she processed the psychological impact of hearing conditioning development discussions that connected her current assignment with classified cognitive psychology programs that had developed stress technologies exceeding current military capabilities. Her specialized training enabled recognition of technical discussions and psychological assessments that conventional personnel might interpret incorrectly or fail to understand entirely. Her background in experimental cognitive psychology research provided unique perspective on conditioning limitations and stress capabilities that informed her understanding of threat assessments and psychological planning. Though her classified research history remained unknown to conventional personnel who viewed her as dedicated technical specialist with unusual EOD interests and attention to psychological detail. The maintenance activities that Martinez conducted served multiple purposes beyond routine equipment management, allowing her to evaluate conditioning systems and identify potential psychological gaps through pattern recognition techniques learned during classified cognitive psychology programs. Her specialized knowledge enabled recognition of systemic vulnerabilities that conventional maintenance procedures might overlook, providing insights that could enhance overall EOD effectiveness and stress analysis capabilities. The training facility represented months of construction and engineering designed to provide optimal psychological monitoring and stress coordination while protecting personnel from environmental effects and enemy psychological targeting attempts. Advanced stress shielding, redundant conditioning systems, and hardened psychological equipment created operational advantages that maintained EOD effectiveness even under adverse conditions and enemy psychological warfare deployment. The engineering specifications that guided facility construction incorporated lessons learned from previous conflicts and theoretical advances in conditioning architecture developed by military engineers and cognitive scientists. Each system component had been carefully designed to provide monitoring capabilities and operational flexibility that eliminated psychological gaps while maintaining efficiency for routine operations and emergency response scenarios. Specialist Martinez continues standard maintenance procedures but remain alert for any unusual stress patterns or technical anomalies that might indicate psychological warfare attempts or conditioning system malfunctions. Captain Kim instructed, his guidance reflecting standard safety protocols while acknowledging technical background that Martinez brought to system evaluation and maintenance activities. His instructions contained subtle recognition of Martinez's technical expertise and analytical capabilities that exceeded standard maintenance training, though the acknowledgement remained coded in language that preserved operational security regarding her classified background and specialized knowledge that other personnel were not authorized to access. The technical briefing continued for 51 minutes, with various specialists contributing psychological assessments and conditioning recommendations based on current intelligence and stress analysis. The assembled group represented finest military minds available for EOD and psychological planning, though their conventional backgrounds limited understanding of experimental technologies and cognitive capabilities that existed within classified research programs. The complexity of advanced EOD defense in modern warfare required synthesis of intelligence from multiple sources, including psychological surveillance, conditioning intelligence, technical analysis, and theoretical modeling that enabled prediction of enemy explosive capabilities before they materialized into actual threats. The analytical precision required for effective EOD planning exceeded capabilities of individual specialists and demanded collaborative effort from experts with diverse technical backgrounds and security clearances. Martinez positioned herself near the advanced training position while maintaining routine technical duties that provided cover for observing stress conditions and psychological discussions that might indicate conditioning gaps or technological limitations. Her experimental cognitive psychology background enabled recognition of system capabilities and operational parameters that conventional personnel might interpret incorrectly or fail to evaluate properly. The monitoring activities that Martinez conducted automatically incorporated advanced analytical techniques learned during classified cognitive psychology programs that emphasized conditioning innovation and strategic thinking beyond conventional military planning. Her ability to evaluate psychological systems enabled identification of potential improvements and vulnerabilities that purely technical thinking might miss entirely. The live explosive alert became audible through the facility communication system approximately 3 hours into her duty shift, its specific timing information and stress references triggering recognition that connected her current assignment with classified cognitive psychology programs that had developed conditioning technologies exceeding current operational capabilities. The alert characteristics indicated genuine explosive threat rather than routine training exercises, suggesting crisis situation that demanded immediate response and specialized expertise. Her recognition of the disposal parameters reflected cognitive psychology participation and stress conditioning development that connected her to programs involving extreme pressure research, operations where her theoretical knowledge had been applied to practical psychological problems while her colleagues focused on conventional EOD methodologies. The alert's technical specifications indicated psychological challenge that suggested either equipment malfunction or emergency situations that justified revealing advanced cognitive capabilities. The explosive warning's technical characteristics and psychological parameters indicated genuine bomb disposal threat rather than system malfunction or training scenarios, though the disposal implications of utilizing experimental stress data created complexity that demanded careful evaluation and appropriate response procedures. The authenticity of the threat required verification, while psychological protocols demanded protection of classified cognitive psychology research and conditioning capabilities. Instead of immediately responding to the explosive alert, Martinez carefully evaluated the disposal parameters for technical details and stress conditions that would verify threat legitimacy while protecting classified cognitive psychology information from potential enemy intelligence gathering. Her experimental conditioning training included extensive instruction in psychological evaluation and stress procedures designed to prevent enemy exploitation of American EOD capabilities. The evaluation process required balancing immediate disposal response with security protocols that protected classified cognitive psychology research and technological development from enemy intelligence gathering. Her specialized background provided knowledge necessary for proper threat assessment while maintaining operational security that protected ongoing conditioning programs and psychological capabilities. The stress parameters embedded within the explosive alert matched classified protocols that Martinez recognized from her experimental cognitive psychology research, indicating legitimate bomb disposal threat utilizing advanced psychological systems rather than conventional training or equipment malfunctions attempting to create false emergencies. The proper use of stress targeting suggested technological advancement that exceeded current psychological planning and indicated explosive capabilities that posed serious implications to American installations. Sergeant First Class Kevin Park, the EOD monitoring specialist responsible for tracking psychological conditions and coordinating stress responses, noticed unusual explosive device behavior through automated monitoring systems designed to identify disposal anomalies and coordinate appropriate psychological procedures. Colonel, we're detecting explosive device behavior with psychological warfare characteristics that don't match any known system protocols. The bomb disposal technology appears to utilize advanced stress induction and psychological targeting that exceeds current intelligence assessments of enemy capabilities. His report reflected facilities' psychological capabilities that monitored multiple stress vectors and identified potential disposal anomalies through automated analysis of explosive characteristics and psychological procedures. The detection systems represented advanced technology designed to provide early warning of psychological attacks and coordinate conditioning responses that protected American installations from enemy stress warfare strikes. The psychological intelligence gathered by Park's equipment provided critical information about explosive capabilities and stress methodologies that informed conditioning planning and disposal coordination procedures. The technical analysis of detected psychological patterns enabled assessment of device technological advancement while maintaining stress protocols that protected American installations from sophisticated attacks. Sergeant Park, can your systems identify the specific explosive protocols and confirm the psychological parameters that enable advanced stress induction targeting? Colonel Rodriguez inquired, his question reflecting command responsibility for understanding explosive capabilities while coordinating appropriate psychological responses that protected personnel and critical facilities. The colonel's response demonstrated systematic approach to threat assessment that characterized effective military leadership, where disposal anomalies required immediate evaluation and appropriate psychological action while maintaining intelligence gathering that informed strategic planning for future threats. The priority placed on understanding explosive capabilities reflected recognition that technological advancement required adaptive conditioning strategies and psychological coordination. Martinez approached the threat assessment station with measured steps that maintained her cover as routine technical personnel while providing critical intelligence about the explosive characteristics and psychological requirements. Her experimental cognitive psychology training enabled accurate evaluation of conditioning technology and disposal requirements that conventional personnel might misinterpret or fail to understand entirely. Her movement toward the assessment station appeared routine to casual observers, but represented calculated decision-making that balanced security requirements with emergency response obligations. The specialized knowledge that informed her evaluation could provide critical insights for appropriate psychological responses and stress assessment procedures. Sir, I recognize the psychological technology and stress conditioning systems required for handling this explosive device, Martinez reported, her voice maintaining professional military bearing while conveying information that reflected specialized training and cognitive psychology experience. The disposal parameters demand experimental conditioning technology that was developed through classified cognitive psychology programs, but the device characteristics suggest psychological conditions and stress calculations that exceed current disposal assessments and standard EOD protocols. Her assessment provided context for the explosive threat that enabled appropriate psychological responses and strategic evaluation of disposal conditioning capabilities. The distinction between experimental research and operational deployment was critical for determining psychological requirements and understanding stress advancement that threatened standard disposal protocols. Captain Kim studied Martinez with renewed interest, her technical background enabling recognition that the assessment demonstrated psychological knowledge that exceeded standard maintenance training and suggested specialized background in classified cognitive psychology research and experimental conditioning development. Specialist Martinez, your knowledge of experimental psychological systems is remarkably detailed for technical operations. Can you elaborate on the specific conditioning characteristics that suggest disposal technological advancement beyond current intelligence estimates? His question reflected institutional curiosity about Martinez's technical expertise and sources of specialized knowledge that enabled accurate psychological assessment under emergency conditions. The precision of her analysis suggested cognitive psychology backgrounds that exceeded her official military occupational specialty and indicated possible classified assignments or experimental program participation. Sir, the stress conditioning capability requires integration of advanced psychological technology, real-time cognitive processing, and individual conditioning databases that combine multiple classification levels and psychological programs, Martinez explained, her response demonstrating technical knowledge that reflected specialized training in experimental conditioning development and advanced cognitive systems. The disposal deployment of this technology suggests either significant intelligence compromise of classified cognitive psychology programs or independent development that parallels American experimental psychological capabilities. Her explanation provided specific technical details that supported her psychological assessment while demonstrating knowledge that exceeded routine military training and suggested specialized education or cognitive psychology experience. The technical sophistication of her analysis indicated familiarity with experimental psychological technology and conditioning, methodologies that characterized classified development programs rather than standard military operations. The detailed nature of Martinez's psychological assessment impressed assembled officers, who recognized that her analytical capabilities exceeded expectations for her current assignment and suggested potential for enhanced responsibilities within EOD planning and conditioning assessment activities. Her demonstrated expertise represented valuable assets that could enhance psychological effectiveness and stress evaluation capabilities. Specialist Martinez, your analysis suggests significant experience with experimental psychological technology and advanced conditioning systems, Colonel Rodriguez observed, his comment reflecting recognition that Martinez's capabilities extended beyond standard technical qualifications and indicated specialized training or cognitive psychology background. Have you received additional training in psychological development or experimental conditioning programs? The question addressed institutional curiosity about Martinez's background while acknowledging that her demonstrated capabilities suggested qualifications that exceeded her current assignment and indicated potential for expanded responsibilities within EOD operations and psychological assessment activities. Sir, I completed California Institute of Technology and Stanford University experimental cognitive psychology programs before my current assignment. Martinez replied carefully, providing information that explained her capabilities while maintaining operational security regarding classified research and psychological development that other personnel were not authorized to access. My background includes doctoral research in advanced conditioning systems, cognitive psychology technology, and experimental stress enhancement for EOD applications. Her response provided context for her exceptional performance while maintaining appropriate operational security regarding classified cognitive psychology programs and experimental conditioning technologies that informed her psychological assessment and technical analysis methodology. The acknowledgement of Caltech and Stanford cognitive psychology background explained her exceptional capabilities while preserving security regarding specific programs and conditioning developments. The revelation of Martinez's experimental cognitive psychology research background provided explanation for her exceptional psychological assessment capabilities while raising questions about her assignment to routine technical duties that failed to utilize her specialized qualifications effectively. Her presence within conventional military units suggested budgetary decisions or program transitions that had resulted in her psychological expertise being underutilized within standard EOD operations. Colonel Rodriguez made immediate command decision that reflected institutional recognition of specialized capabilities and urgent need to coordinate appropriate psychological responses requiring her specific expertise. Specialist Martinez, you are immediately designated as primary EOD technician for this disposal operation. Captain Kim, provide Martinez with our most advanced psychological equipment and coordinate stress support for extreme pressure bomb disposal. The designation represented acknowledgement that Martinez's specialized capabilities were critical for properly handling the current psychological situation and ensuring appropriate disposal responses that neutralized the explosive threat while maintaining operational security. Her demonstrated competence in conditioning assessment aligned perfectly with EOD requirements that demanded sophisticated analytical capabilities and experimental cognitive psychology knowledge. The immediate nature of the designation reflected military efficiency in utilizing available expertise when emergency situations demanded specialized knowledge and psychological understanding. Colonel Rodriguez's decision demonstrated leadership flexibility that enabled rapid adaptation to changing requirements and unexpected capabilities within existing personnel resources. Captain Kim provided Martinez with advanced disposal equipment that reflected genuine recognition of her specialized background and psychological analysis capabilities. Martinez, your cognitive psychology expertise represents exactly the knowledge we need for handling this extreme stress disposal operation. The psychological conditions and device characteristics exceed our standard protocols. His guidance represented beginning of operational relationships based on demonstrated capability rather than rank or institutional assumptions about where specialized expertise might be located. The recognition of Martinez's experimental cognitive psychology background promised opportunities to contribute meaningfully to critical EOD operations that protected installations and maintained disposal security. The professional respect implicit in Kim's guidance reflected fundamental shift in how Martinez would be viewed within the military organization during disposal operations. Her transition from routine technical duties to specialized psychological analysis demonstrated potential for exceptional talent to emerge from unexpected assignments when crisis situations demanded specialized capabilities. Martinez approached the live explosive device with the Advanced Disposal Toolkit, her cognitive psychology background enabling immediate recognition of the psychological conditioning required for maintaining mental clarity during extreme stress bomb disposal under life-threatening time constraints. The stress indicators showed 10 seconds remaining on the countdown timer, psychological pressure that would overwhelm conventional EOD protocols and demanded cognitive techniques that exceeded standard military disposal training. Her mind automatically engaged the psychological conditioning techniques she had developed during her doctoral research, implementing cognitive frameworks for time dilation and stress management while her hands moved through disposal procedures with precision that reflected thousands of hours of theoretical and practical conditioning. The cognitive models she had researched provided mental architecture for maintaining analytical thinking under ultimate pressure that conventional military training could not address adequately. The disposal sequence required perfect integration of psychological conditioning with technical expertise, where cognitive psychology knowledge enabled her to slow subjective time perception while maintaining manual dexterity and analytical thinking under conditions that would paralyze conventional EOD technicians. The stress management techniques allowed her to process multiple technical variables simultaneously, while the countdown timer created psychological pressure that exceeded human performance limitations. Martinez's breathing remained controlled as she applied experimental cognitive psychology principles to practical disposal requirements. Her academic training in stress conditioning enabling recognition of psychological patterns and cognitive techniques that maintained mental clarity during life-threatening situations. The conditioning protocols provided framework for managing extreme stress, while executing complex technical procedures under time constraints that challenged human psychological limits. The disposal solution required consideration of psychological factors, stress management variables, technical procedures, and cognitive conditioning that demanded integration of theoretical knowledge with practical application under conditions that exceeded conventional human performance capabilities. Her doctoral research in experimental stress psychology provided theoretical foundation for mental conditioning that enabled bomb disposal under circumstances that standard military training could not address effectively. The moment of successful disposal represented convergence of theoretical cognitive psychology knowledge with practical EOD application, where academic research in stress conditioning and experimental psychology culminated in successful bomb disposal that demonstrated capabilities exceeding conventional military expectations. The psychological techniques followed computed cognitive frameworks through multiple stress layers, maintaining analytical thinking despite environmental conditions that would defeat standard disposal protocols. The explosive device's successful disarmament confirmed accuracy of Martinez's cognitive psychology methodology and validated theoretical research that had been developed through classified academic programs. The successful disposal demonstrated practical application of experimental stress conditioning and advanced psychological training that exceeded current military EOD capabilities and provided proof of concept for next-generation psychological conditioning technologies. The disposal response that Martinez coordinated resulted in successful neutralization of the explosive threat and provided critical intelligence about cognitive psychology capabilities and conditioning advancement that enhanced security for future bomb disposal operations. Her psychological analysis had enabled proper disposal coordination and threat assessment that prevented potential catastrophic disaster while maintaining operational security for classified cognitive psychology programs. Her work included analyzing stress systems, coordinating psychological responses, and providing technical assessment that enabled successful EOD operations under extremely complex conditions involving advanced psychological warfare technologies. Each contribution demonstrated value of experimental cognitive psychology research applied to practical conditioning situations that affected installation security and explosive threat protection. The psychological protocols that Martinez had developed became standard reference for extreme stress bomb disposal, illustrating importance of maintaining institutional expertise in experimental conditioning technology and value of personnel with specialized cognitive psychology backgrounds. Martinez's story influenced personnel utilization policies that emphasized identifying and maintaining access to psychological expertise throughout military EOD organizations. The investigation revealed that the explosive device represented sophisticated psychological warfare technology that utilized advanced stress induction systems to overwhelm conventional EOD personnel and create psychological conditions that prevented successful bomb disposal under extreme time pressure. The device's psychological components exceeded current American intelligence assessments of enemy conditioning capabilities. Martinez's analysis determined that enemy forces had developed integrated explosive psychological systems that combined conventional ordnance with stress warfare technology designed to defeat American EOD protocols through psychological manipulation and cognitive overload that exceeded human performance limitations. The psychological warfare integration represented coordinated development that threatened fundamental assumptions about bomb disposal and stress conditioning. The counterintelligence response that Martinez coordinated successfully identified enemy psychological warfare capabilities while implementing enhanced conditioning protocols that protected American EOD operations from future stress attacks. Her cognitive psychology expertise enabled development of conditioning algorithms that maintained disposal effectiveness against advanced psychological warfare technologies and stress manipulation operations. 14 months after the extreme stress disposal operation, explosive ordnance disposal specialist Martinez received promotion and assignment as senior psychological analyst for experimental EOD conditioning covering multiple special operations installations. Her advancement reflected institutional recognition that exceptional analytical capabilities and cognitive psychology experience required appropriate recognition and opportunities for expanded responsibility within advanced EOD programs. Her progression from technical duties to specialized psychological operations demonstrated military's capacity for recognizing and developing specialized talent when circumstances revealed capabilities and EOD requirements demanded specific expertise. The transformation also reflected institutional learning about importance of maintaining personnel with diverse cognitive psychology backgrounds and theoretical knowledge. Today, Warrant Officer Martinez leads the Advanced Psychological Conditioning Division, overseeing experimental stress assessment and cognitive coordination that supports EOD installations throughout Special Operations Command. Her team of conditioning specialists continues to advance psychological detection capabilities and analytical methodologies that protect American personnel from increasingly sophisticated stress warfare threats and psychological challenges. Her leadership position represents culmination of career that experienced academic transition and evolved into directing critical EOD operations that support the most sensitive explosive disposal missions. The trajectory demonstrated how specialized cognitive psychology talent and experimental knowledge could transform both individual careers and institutional capabilities for advanced psychological defense. The organization she directs has become model for integrating experimental cognitive psychology expertise with operational EOD requirements, attracting top talent from conditioning research institutions and psychological contractors. Her success has inspired similar programs throughout Special Operations Command that seek to identify and utilize personnel with combined psychological research and operational expertise. The specialists they had assumed couldn't handle standard military pressure had become the analytical backbone for advanced EOD psychological operations, proving that extraordinary cognitive psychology experience often exists within personnel whose specialized backgrounds remain hidden by routine assignments. Sometimes the most critical capabilities come from individuals whose experimental conditioning knowledge has been channeled into protective service for their country, and institutional effectiveness often depends on recognizing psychological talent regardless of its apparent assignment or academic history. Her story continues to inspire EOD analysts and cognitive psychology personnel who understand that experimental conditioning knowledge creates unique capabilities for protecting American personnel, demonstrating that specialized talent will find purpose when given appropriate opportunities to contribute to meaningful bomb disposal missions and psychological security operations.